All right, man of God, this video is for the man that feels like no matter how hard he works, he just can't change his situation. He feels like it might be 2 steps forward and then it's 3 steps back. He starts to get momentum and then something seems to come out the way and he's in a form of self-sabotage or something, derails him. There's a distraction, a delay, and he tries to work harder and work harder and work harder, but it just isn't working. If you can relate to this, I believe you have fallen into the hard work trap, or what I might call the hard work fallacy. That is believing the lie that working harder is what you need to do to fix your situation. And sometimes we feel stupid even searching for information outside of just working harder, because if you're like me, you grew up around like the hustle culture and just the grind mentality. And you have seen people that have gotten to places that you want to be, and they prescribe hard work as the solution. And I'm not discrediting hard work, and that at times we won't have experiences of working hard, but hopefully by the end of this, you'll see that hard work definitely isn't the answer. And for all of those people that worked hard and got to where they wanted to be, there was other people that don't work hard. Or I'm sorry, people that did work hard and didn't get that. And if you look at the world around you, the people that make the most money aren't always the people that work the hardest. You see people working very, very hard that are broke. And people that are working really, really hard on a relationship that isn't improving. And people that are working really, really hard to get in shape that aren't in shape, And I'm not asking you to believe any kind of crazy theories or, philosophies. I'm just asking you to look at the world around you and notice that. And from there, we can move on. I have a few points for you. So let's start with the first one. Now, the first issue there in this, and I almost want you to look at this as like 3 weak points that I'm trying to attack. And if we can destroy those beliefs and rebuild them into something better, hopefully that paradigm of thinking you have to just outwork your problems will fall, okay? And you'll have a better way of moving forward. So it's important to remember, I know this might look like Hebrew, but don't worry, I'm going to read all of this, okay? I know my handwriting, it's not even that it's bad as much as it is lazy. Like, I can write really good. And sometimes you'll notice in like longer sentences, I'll notice how I'll start strong and I just get lazy. I'm just like, forget it. And so apologies. But anyway, we got to understand that internal problems need internal solutions. Okay. It's like trying to put a Band-Aid on a gallbladder issue or something. That's like a loose analogy, but technically that's still like very physical and external. What we're talking about is that this is you, okay? Got a big head like me. Now, you do things in the outer world. You go make money and try to build a house, okay? You get money, you get cars. I don't know why you got such an ugly car. You go after hoes or a young lady, a young woman of God, right? You smoke cigarettes or weed, whatever the things are that you do externally. You jet ski. I can't draw that though. All of those things that you do on the outside are to feel a certain way on the inside. It doesn't matter whether it's you having your kids, building a church for God, whatever you think you're doing is to feel a certain way on the inside. Now, that's so important to understand, because when you understand that it's just an internal state that you're trying to shift, you can actually start going straight to the source versus trying to do it from the outside. Because the idea that the outside impacts the inside is an illusion. Now, I know it feels that way because you're like, Dion, when my baby girl smiles at me, it just warms my heart. But I promise you, like, she's not going into your heart and warming it herself. It's you essentially putting your guard down. Because you've pre-specified that is a situation where you're okay with, and you kind of let your guard down. But it is an internal process, and you can learn to disconnect that. And what I mean by that is there's times where your girl, okay, there are times your girl did make you happy. But But I promise you, there were also times your girl didn't make you happy. And that just goes to show you that the happiness or sadness wasn't from her, or else you'd always be happy. It was the stories and the different fantasies and things that you were creating in your mind that caused that. And the scary part about this is we all know of people that got the house. Let's switch colors. They got the house, they got the car, they got the job, the raise, the money, and they still weren't at peace. And so when you can think through whether it's a celebrity or someone you know in person that got the thing that you want and they're still not okay, that should tip you off that thing doesn't guarantee it. Now, at first, your defense mechanisms are going off. You're like, Dion, bro, why are you trying to come for my hose? You're trying to come for my weed. You're trying to come for whatever. I'm not trying to come for anything. I'm trying to just help you see what you're doing and what it's doing to you. What you do with that information is up to you. Okay, but that's point number one. Internal problems need an internal solution. So if the issue at the end of the day is the feeling in your heart or just the state that you're trying to change, it's because you think the car gives you a certain amount of status. You like how that makes you feel. You think when you have the house or you have the lady, you're going to feel a certain way. When you understand that it's an internal issue, we can start to work towards internal solutions. But it's not the outer world that's going to get you that. Okay. Now, for more details on this, I did a video on the two worlds that you live in. Make sure you guys check that out. That'll go into a little bit more detail. Now, point number 2 is that you cannot consistently outperform your self-image. Was that point cut off? Oh, yeah. Y'all probably didn't even see all of this, but it's all good. I need to pay a little bit more attention. All right, now point number 2, you can't outperform, or at least you can't consistently outperform your self-image. Now, the analogy I would give you here is, and when I first learned this was from, I don't think I have the book in reaching distance, but it's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by a brother named Maxwell Maltz. Now, what was cool with him is he was a plastic surgeon, and he would do things like, actually, I did not even need that line right there. But he would have, let's say, a woman come to him, and she would have a crooked smile. And as a plastic surgeon, he would fix it, give her a good smile. But when she would go home and look in the mirror, she would still see this. And even though everyone around her saw this, he started to notice there was a connection where he could change the outside appearance of someone, but if they didn't heal their inner self, then that outside change really wouldn't do anything. And so if they always saw themselves as ugly deep down, you could do something to the outward. You can inject lips and fill the face and all that, but they would still feel ugly. And maybe you guys have seen that from some women that are constantly chasing that stuff, and it always has to be the next thing and the next thing. Or maybe you can even relate to that. And so that's kind of a lot of what his work was based upon. But I think one of the most gangster things he ever said was this right here. This is that you cannot consistently outperform your self-image. Now, your self-image essentially is just your view of yourself and the beliefs and expectations of what's possible. And so there is a real world with real limits out there. It's kind of lopsided because my drawing that's bad. No. Can I Control Z that? I swear I'm not drunk. I mean, the tablet I'm drawing on is angled a little bit, so it makes sense. But okay, that's like the actual 3-dimensional world. There are limits to it. Like, you can't just start flapping your arms really fast and fly. You can't hold your breath for 3 hours. Like, there's legit limitations. We get that. But what our self-image does is we create certain belief patterns. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram, man, at Dion Does. I talked to a lot of men on there, and I was just having some conversations, and this was coming up a lot. And so I'm going to send them, a lot of them, this video. But, I was hearing a lot of beliefs like, yo, this always happens to me, or this is how life goes. Whether they were just talking about things being difficult or the possibilities of things happening to them. And you could tell they just have these limiting self-beliefs. Now, a good way to envision this. Well, let me actually draw it first. And so like you have genuine boundaries in the world, but what your self image does is it creates a much smaller world. And you may have more potential and belief in yourself on like a physical level. And so you may have boundaries that are closer to real boundaries in one area, but then you might have some real limitations spiritually or relationally, like, oh, I'll never find love, or I'm ugly, whatever. And you create these illusions of boundaries, and you'll live a much smaller life inside of this. And actually, the analogy I was going to get to at the beginning and got a little bit distracted is that of a rubber band. And so think about it. You can stretch a rubber band, but the moment you stop giving it all that effort to extend it and you just let go, it's going to snap back. And that's what your self-image does. So if you believe, oh, I'm just big boned, I'm fat, I'm chunky, that's why you self-sabotage. You go to the gym for a little bit, and your mind, more specifically your subconscious mind. So we low-key probably need to do a video just on the subconscious mind, but let's think of it like an iceberg. You know, like you got your conscious mind above like a water, and you know, they say 2/3 of an iceberg is like below the water. And that's how your subconscious mind works. It's like underneath your conscious thought, hence subconscious, but it's the part of your mind that's working automatically all the time, whether it's on your breathing, your digestion, but also this taps into like your thought process, your beliefs, your expectations, how you view the world. And one of the biggest things you need to understand about the subconscious mind is a couple things. Well, there's a few things. One, it doesn't understand time. I'm not going to get too deep in this, but it's more eternal in nature. Also, it doesn't know the difference between real or imagined events. And it's programmed for survival. And so if it has a certain, let's say like temperature or a certain existence that it believes is the norm, aka you being fat, you being big boned, when you try to go outside of that, it's like stretching the rubber band. And so that's why you can go for a few weeks, but the moment you let even a little tension go, whoosh, your norm is going to snap back. And that's why it feels like your mind is working against you at times. And you'll notice when people make like a real genuine shift, they'll almost go from hating the gym to like loving the gym, because that gym and that those actions have become part of that self-identity. And so that's why in the same way, it might be hard for you to do certain things because you think of it as like beneath you, right? And so like for some of you guys, this is you. And there's things that are like beneath you. You're like, yo, I'd never smoke crack. That's supposed to say crack. You know, I don't steal, whatever it may be, you know. But because you have a self-image, you got to be careful, because there's also things that are above you that you believe. Maybe it's a certain amount of money. Maybe it's a certain type of woman that you can date. And you got to be careful of where your self-image is boxing you in. Have I done a video on the ABCs of programming? I don't think I have, but I need to. That's a whole nother science, and how our mind programs us to think these certain ways and how you get the self-image that you do. But for now, it's worth trying to notice that and notice the limits that you are placing on yourself. Where did you get these limitations? Did you inherit them from the people around you? And why are you accepting them? And the point of the infinite game is to poke at those boundaries. Go check the video I did on infinite versus finite games. The boundaries exist to be played with. Like even these ones, thank God the Wright brothers were like, hold up, are you sure? Are you sure we can't fly? Now, we ain't doing it like this, but we flying, baby. And so I want y'all to get used to pushing boundaries as much as you possibly can. There's a fly terrorizing me, so if I look distracted and swinging in that air, that's what that is. Hopefully that makes sense. You can't consistently outperform your self-image. Be mindful of the boundaries. Do your best to push at them, challenge them. You'll be surprised at how weak some of them are. And also do your best to catch yourself when you're in negative, repetitive states of thought. believing negative things, thinking negative things, expecting negative things, and do your best to reverse that. Because the more often you do that, you start to program yourself. You can also try things like visualization. And that's all you're doing. If you're like, I've never visualized, what is that? That sounds weird. That sounds hippie. That's all you're doing when you're daydreaming and negatively rehearsing things in your mind. And like I said, your mind doesn't know the difference between a real or imagined event, at least your subconscious. So that's why when you're meditating on the breakup, the rejection, the bills in the future, you're getting a real response for your body now. I could also walk you through an exercise where I could have you close your eyes, visualize a lemon, a bright, juicy lemon, and cutting it in half and then squeezing it into your mouth. I'm not going to do it in detail here, but if you want to pause and do that, maybe even some of you already, your mouth is watering. I was visualizing it, so my mouth is watering. But you'll notice you can get real, tangible experiences now off of imagined events. And so the more you visualize expanding those boundaries, living outside of those boundaries, your mind doesn't know that it's real or that it's not real. It's just as real to it as if you actually did it. And so you start to expand that. That's why a lot of my clients were constantly working on visualizations. I'll leave that there. Of course, you guys, that's what the comment section is for if y'all got questions. That's what follow-up videos are for. Okay, lastly, your worldview equals what your world do. What does that mean? It's an extension of that last principle, okay? You got to understand that how you limit yourself, you can also put those limits on the world. And we got to understand like polarity, right? Like because you're experiencing something bad, that is actually evidence that there is good in your situation. Like where you're at, you've got to be at a vantage point to be able to see it. And this is really like a conversation around your consciousness, which is a word I kind of try to stay away from because it has a lot of baggage with it. But imagine like a mountain. Okay. Now, obviously, you would understand the higher you are up on this, the more that you could see. Okay. It would literally change your view of the world. And I want you to, I'm very okay with just thinking, I want you to think as high of thoughts as possible. And what I mean by that is the least selfish thoughts possible, the most calm, joyful, creative thoughts possible, because that's what's going to give you a view of reality that's the most I'm trying to say things without creating additional TED Talks and always pointing to other videos, but I'm also not trying to keep you guys here for 3 hours. Let me say it like this and maybe give you an example, right? So some of the lower levels of consciousness would be things like shame, guilt, even things like anger, and even just notice when you've been in these states, all right? And at the top, let's put peace, joy, calmness, right? Like these are higher vantage points. Think of the times you've been angry, when you've been full of guilt, shame. How do you see the world? Do you notice how your literal view of the world narrows to the point where some of you guys black out when you get angry, right? And your options of like what's available, almost think of it as like a video game. You guys ever played like those, like choose your own adventure, or like where you choose the dialogue options, you know? And there's some games where if you have like a higher stat, you can have more options available. Think about when you get angry, you have less options available in your life because you're usually thinking like cuss them out, punch them. You're not thinking as abundant. You're not thinking about their side of things, right? And the problem with this is why you guys got to go through the video too. I did a video on the 3 levels of identity and power. When you're moving in the lowest level of identity, which is down here, which is your animalistic, just purely in the physical sense, what is your physical body and all of its impulses geared around? Survival. Simply just surviving, not thriving. And so that's why when you're working in just the physical world of working harder, hard work, you can't help but be cyclical. Because that's all this physical world is. That's how, from the planets all the way to your days, we have the seasons that are in cycles, menstrual cycles. This world is cyclical. And the more you are tied to your physical identity, you're going to live that repetitive nature, and you can't outwork that. You can't escape it. And you don't want to be moving from this low level of survival, because you literally, like, your view of the world is diminished, and you don't see as much. And so that's why your worldview really determines what your world will do, because you're only seeing the options and the availability from that place of consciousness. Now, when you get higher up and think of the times that you've been calm and your bank account was full and you weren't hungry, like, you see things a lot closer to where they actually are. And so it's not enough just to change your self-image. You got to broaden your view on how you see the world. And more importantly, this level of consciousness that you hold yourself out of, or you hold yourself at, because the external world is just a reflection of that. If you guys have ever, I forget what it's called when you, you know what? Fluff it. We about to ask ChatGPT real quick. Hey, can you hear me? Yeah. Hey, so what's that phenomenon when you get like a new car and then you start to notice it everywhere else on the road when you didn't notice it at first?
Absolutely, I can hear you loud and clear. And yeah, that phenomenon actually has a name. It's called the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon.
The Baader-Meinhof effect. I think I cut her off. I didn't even finish the whole, however you say it, all right? The Baader-Meinhof effect. That's this idea that, you know, you might have got a new car, you ain't never seen that thing on the street at all. But once you got it, you start to see it everywhere. And you're like, yo, did everyone just start buying this car? It's no. It's just now it became familiar. Your mind knows to look for it. It stopped filtering it out, and you actually just start seeing it. That's the exact same way for opportunities. And if you are just constantly grind, work harder, staying in survival down here, you genuinely filter out the opportunities for you to work less, for you to collaborate, for you to do the more exponential work with more leverage. And so, man of God, my prescription for you, and we can get into some actual homework right now, is I want you to, you don't even have to start by decreasing the amount of work you're doing. So if you're working hard on your job, your business, all of that, I'm okay with that. But please just do your best to start trying to raise this level of consciousness. Notice when things try to pull you down. Okay, what I want you to do is walk by faith, not sight. Okay? Don't go by the senses. Let your level of being determine your level of seeing, not the reverse, where your seeing is determining your level of being. All right. So you're like, I don't see money in my bank account, so I'm moving at that low level. No. Start moving, believing. So I want you to look at how you think, how you believe, what you expect. And notice when these are going negative into the more of the lower, more negative levels of consciousness, I want you to consciously bring it back up and do everything you can to stay there. And over time, you'll start to notice that works magic that is tough to explain in like a simple ROI fashion, because you'll start seeing things you couldn't see before. They were there the whole time, and they have to be there. And that I was getting into it. I don't want to spend too much time, but when we talk about polarity, you've never seen an east without a west. You need an up to have a down. You need a bad to have a good. And when you have, right, the North Pole is evidence of the South Pole. And when you have something here, it's evidence of something over there. It's just on the opposite end of it. And so when you see the negativity, I promise you the positivity is there. You just have to start spending more time at the top, at this level of consciousness versus that lower level, and you'll start to see it. Okay. I think that's good. Yeah. Make sure you're visualizing, catching yourself doing the negative visualizing and pushing the boundaries that you've adopted from so many people, and just and understand that we're trying to go for an internal solution, not an external one, not you depending on the outside. I promise you the outside is going to take care of itself. That's essentially like Matthew 6:33, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, what Jesus is saying. Like, everything in the external is going to take care of itself. Let's focus on the internal stuff. And with that, I'll leave you there. I hope that helped, and that helped some of you guys if like you're stuck in that hard work trap. Hopefully the homework helps as well. If I could give you more 2 cents on this, it helps to have expert help around this. People that have been through what you're being through, that have been through what you're going through, have seen it from multiple angles. That can coach you and quarterback and help you stop wasting time. For that, we have a free community. I think it would bless most of the men that found value out of this. So if you're over 18, please check the link in the description. That'll give you your what I would prescribe is the best homework for you, okay? There's a free option, and so there's no excuse. With that, I'm done. If you have any questions, leave them below. And until next time, God first. God bless.